Welcome back to another episode of TINAH Talks. We're your hosts. I'm Kelsey, and this is Sophie. Today, we are talking about all things kindness, and I believe it's in honor of World Kindness Day, which is happening November 13th. So we figured, why not do an episode on it? Because I think, kindness plays a huge role in how we treat ourselves, how we treat other people, which at the bottom line, that's how it affects our mental health. So welcome, Sophie. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, just cracking on another day.
Literally. But I think you mentioned before we jumped on this call about, I don't know if it's a good way to start is like with a story about kindness. And I know that you've got a
Sure.
story that you'd quite like to share. So did you want to start in that and then we can kind of dig into it?
Yeah, sure. So, I'm sure all of you guys have heard like things like, kindness doesn't cost anything and you never know what other people are going through. So just be kind because, a lot of people have just shit that's happening all the time. With me in my life, right, I've got quite a bit of background with trauma and things like that. And I got really heavily into resilience research. I was really curious because one of the things that people say to me when I share my story is they're like, wow, how did you turn out like not so effed up? Like you seem semi normal. I'm a little crazy, but um, and with people saying this to me, it made me start to think like, why was I so resilient in the face of the things that I experienced when a lot of people who have experienced similar things, maybe not. They ended up developing drug addictions. They ended up going down some not so great routes in their life and are still really struggling. But I, on the other hand, haven't. So I got really big into resilience research. And one of the number one factors that they have found that helps people become more resilient is the support and kindness basically of people outside their tight knit circle. So someone being kind or sharing some outside perspective or support can make a huge difference to someone building that resilience. And I always think back for me, like when I learned that, I started thinking back in my life to um, different people who have reached out and supported me. And one of the big ones was my parents were going through a super nasty divorce and I had just transferred to a new school, so I was required by law to see the school counselor. And I remember that I get pulled out of class once a week, and this poor lady, her office was in a freaking broom closet, no windows, nothing. But I would go in, I'd sit, and I would talk with her, and it was like probably one of the few experiences in my life at that time where I was just with an adult who was being nice to me, who was letting me talk and share things that I wanted to share about. I wasn't being yelled at. I wasn't being told to do something. I wasn't being hit. And then at the end of all of it, I got a really cool pencil with a cool, like one of those big chunky pencil erasers. And it has always stuck with me. I don't know what it was, but like that feeling. And there's other people along the way that have also like reached out and helped give me other perspectives or just other support in general. And when I graduated college, so I got two bachelors. I got a bachelor in psychology and a bachelor in Spanish. And this her I'm not going to share her name because I don't want people to like go looking for her, but I do remember her name. And I was really hung up on like what she had done for me. So when I graduated, I sent her an email. I got her email off the school website and was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but this is what I remember from our experience. And I think that you played a really big role in like just giving me an outside perspective of what was happening in my everyday life that like allowed me to move forward more resiliently. And she did remember me and she was so sweet. And she was like, thank you so much for this email, like the whole thing. And, like it goes both ways, that kindness. And I think her kindness really helped me grow into a strong, independent, resilient individual. And it didn't cost me anything to be like, I want to give a little bit of that kindness back. I mean, like, I'm not giving you anything big, but at least I can acknowledge because it did leave a mark on my life. And so that's my resiliently kind story.
That. I think it's a good. You've set the tone there very well of like what we're trying to talk about today. And I think like I don't think people realize that sometimes little tiny acts that they do leave such a big impression on the person that they're doing it for. Even if to them it's not a big deal, it can make a really big difference. Like you were in a moment of needing that kind of comfort, she gave it to you in whatever way resonated with you, and it wasn't her going out of her way to do anything special. She was literally just doing probably her job and what she was kind of meant to be doing, and actually that left such a lasting impact on you. And one of the themes this year for World Kindness Day on the 13th of November is make kindness the norm. And I think we live in such a society that kind of defaults to a negativity bias. We're always kind of a bit skeptical of people. We always think the worst of a situation. We don't look. I definitely think this is true for the UK. We're like a glass half empty rather than a glass half full in this country. And I don't know, I think in America it's slightly different, but I do
Mm-mm.
think like kindness goes a long way, and it can have such huge psychological and social benefits for somebody's like self-esteem. It can reduce somebody's stress, it can improve somebody's mood, it can give somebody a bit better sense of purpose. Even when you give kindness, when you do something kind that again may only be a tiny little thing for you, but it might make you feel good, it can improve your own sense of purpose and your own mood just by giving kindness out. And I can't think off the top, I was trying to think as you were talking through your story, like have I got any examples of that? And honestly I can't think of one off the top of my head. It might come to me throughout this episode, and if it does I will I will share. But I always know that if I give kindness, if I feel like I'm, and not even on purpose, but let's say for example I open the door for someone and they're really appreciative of it, or for example I'm in the car and I let somebody go in front of me when I didn't need to, or I'll compliment someone on something that they're wearing, I always feel good about myself. And I will give an example of this yesterday, of something that happened to me yesterday where I wasn't in the best mood yesterday. So, and I came home and I'm currently staying at my parents' house. We've got a driveway. I normally park my car on the driveway. We share the driveway with the next door neighbour. And I came home not in a very good mood. I just wanted to park my car in my driveway, right? And there was a car in the driveway. And I was really, really annoyed about the fact that there was a car in the driveway. I couldn't get into it. There was nowhere else for me to park. And I was like, oh, like so annoyed. And I sat there for a minute and I was like getting really like raging about this. And I was like, why am I angry about this? It's like such a stupid little thing to be angry about. And so I just literally, like, the guy was standing outside. I was like, hey, would you mind like moving your car so I can get into my driveway? And afterwards I was like, thank you so much, like I really appreciate that. Like, and I went from this like really ball of rage to like feeling like okay about asking and saying thank you, and like him doing something nice for me, because he didn't actually have to move his car, like he had rights to be there, but he was kind of in my way. So I was like, okay, it shows you that if you can like be a bit more resilient and kind and not like get irate about like the little things, it can make all the difference in your mood. And that actually shifted my day around, like looking at it from a different perspective, because when I came home I was really annoyed about it, and then I suddenly was like, oh, more appreciative of the fact that he did move the car and practiced a bit of kindness and saying thank you, and then like chatted away to him for a little bit. It really made me feel better, because I didn't understand even why I was angry about that little thing. I wouldn't normally be. It's just because I came home in a bit of a bad mood. But it just shows you like how just changing your perspective and looking at things in a different way and trying to practice the kindness can definitely change the whole course of your day.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good example because I think this is a fantastic example of emotional regulation and like having emotional awareness because right, a lot of the time it's not other people that are making us angry. There's something usually going on. We're in a bad mood. Maybe we had a bad day at work. There was maybe something did happen at work. Your boss was a dick. I don't know. Maybe you're just off. Like for me, when I'm PMSing, I'm off and like I want the world to burn. Right. I think it's something to be said for being aware of your emotions. Like I'm just in a bad mood and I'm having a hard day. And rather than assuming that this person is purposely doing something to piss you off, like he parked his car there because he wanted to be a dick. No, like he parked his car there with no realization and instead of it becoming a point of conflict, like you were aware, like I'm in a bad mood, I'm having a bad day, but that doesn't mean I need to take it out on this person. And instead you chose kindness and it ended up being like a pleasant conversation and then feeling better afterwards. I think that's like a really good show of we all have things going on, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's other people's responsibility to deal with. And it should make us more keenly aware that like we shouldn't just be assuming people are doing things to be hurtful. I would say this is actually really big in the travel community because you and I are both travelers, from our parents' generation or our older generation. Sorry, my dog, she's like leaning on me. She's a little scared, so I'm getting pushed around. So like the older generation, they have this fear like, oh, you're going to go to Vietnam, it's dangerous. Oh, you're going to go to Colombia, it's dangerous. Or you're going to go X, Y, and Z. Like, be careful. The world is out to get you. And I have come to find that like I would say 80% of the world and 80% of the everyday people that I come across while traveling, they're kind. They want to talk to you. They want to share their culture. They want to have conversations. They want to just have a pleasant exchange with you because you're different and new in their area. I find that most people their tendency is to want to be kind. It's just like when people are having those bad days and they don't know how to emotionally regulate themselves, or there is that small pocket of people who are just dicks and like they didn't learn how to be kind and caring and communicative people. But yeah, I think there's like these assumptions that people are out to get us and that the world is a bad place, but I don't think that's the case at all. I think most people innately want to be kind and caring and giving.
I agree. I think exactly what you just said. Like 80% of the world has that. Everyone's born with kindness. Everyone can be kind. It's not like something you have to, well, I guess you do kind of have to learn how to be kind as you grow up, like, because your environment will influence how you feel about yourself and how you feel about other people, right? But I guess like you say, it costs nothing to be kind, and most people in the world want to practice kindness. However, so many people are stressed, burnt out, depressed, unhappy, have anxiety, have all of these other things going on. To practice kindness when you're in a place of darkness is very difficult
Hard.
because you are just in this like little black hole, and it doesn't feel like because you feel like how you're feeling is unfair, you then offering out kindness to other people feels like it's not deserved. It's like, for example, let's say you've just gone for a breakup and your best mate is getting married. I can guarantee you are not actually, like, at that moment in time super super happy or like feeling like you want
Yeah.
to celebrate that, because you're in a moment of sadness. You've in a moment of grief. You've just lost something that you were part of for a period of time, however long the relationship was. And then your best mate's getting married, and there's probably other emotions that come up rather than you wanting to feel kind of like and give them a celebratory card or a present or whatever and like go and celebrate with them. You're probably feeling a bit jealous, a bit angry, a bit resentful, a bit frustrated that it's not you. So exactly what you just said, like, it does all come down to like emotional regulation. And ultimately I think kindness is something we're all capable of giving. Oh, hello, dog.
Sorry,
Capable.
she's a little nervous right now, so she's trying to climb into my
That's
lap.
fine. She is a welcome member on the podcast. But yeah, kindness is definitely something we're all capable of giving. It's just more about our state and whether we are able to give it at that moment in time. Because if you are struggling, even though kindness, giving out kindness and receiving kindness is probably going to help you fill up your cup a little bit more, it can feel like an impossible task sometimes if you're not in that headspace to be able to give it.
Yeah, and I think I 100% get that. I actually think that people who she's all nervous, she's hearing beeping trucks, so she just wants to be in my space. Do you want to come
Oh,
up here? Hold on, guys. Let's come on up. There we go. Now you're on my lap. Okay, so I think that like I actually think that people who struggle with mental health tend to be more empathetic. So they're always more willing, I think, to be kind and to give, and often at the expense of themselves, which is like, right? We have to remember that we need just like we give kindness to friends, strangers, whoever, we need to do that for ourselves as well. Um, yes, Ari is on board with that. But I think a fun little tip because you kind of touched on it. So there's a lot of research around altruism, which is basically the idea of just giving something to others out of kindness with for nothing in return. And there's a lot of research that shows that when we engage in altruistic behaviors, it actually does we do get something in return. It boosts our self-esteem, it boosts our confidence, it boosts our mood. So even though like being kind is costs nothing and it's free, in the end you kind of get a little payday out of it by doing it. I mean, I know that defeats the idea of altruistic behavior, is that you're just giving to give, but like if you remember that little nugget and you kind of like, put it back in the back of your mind, you benefit from it just as much as the other person does. And I think that remembering everyone is going through something, everyone is struggling, because like you said, everyone today is burnt out, constantly stressed. The more than 60% of the world is struggling with depression and anxiety and all these other things, and it's not a badge that we can often see. And so I think remembering, right, just if everyone just did their best to be a little bit more kind, the world would be a significantly better place.
100%, 100% it would. And it's a shame, like when you see somebody, like it was funny, another driving story, but the other day, like I can't even remember where I was or where I was going, but I was in the car and I just was driving like a normal person and I had to change lanes. So I went into the other lane, but like in my distance, in my wing mirror, I could see somebody literally like speeding up that thing, but up that lane, but I had time to get over there before they were going to come. But then for whatever reason, this person was clearly in a hurry because they put their foot down even faster, sped round me, and then sped round all of these other cars. But as they sped round me, I could see them swearing at me through the window, and I was like, what the hell? Like, I'm literally just minding my own business. Like, you're clearly having a bad day, you're clearly having a bad time. But it's like, surely it took him more effort to like feel like the need where I'd done absolutely nothing wrong to swear f and blind at me through the window than it would have been just to be like, get on with his day. Like, if you can't do something kind, just don't do anything at all. If you like, I think some people also go out of their way when they are feeling a bit shit about themselves or a bit shit about the situation they're in or a bit shit about their day, whatever. They go out of their way to cause non-kindness to other people, like to be a dick and like just treat people
Yeah.
badly because they've got, like, again, they don't know how to regulate their own emotions. They take it out on other people, and I will hold my hands up and say I am guilty of that on occasion, like
Yeah.
100%, more so in my past than in my present, because like I said, I've been learned how to emotionally regulate. I've learned how to assess a situation and be like, right, this is a me problem, not a you problem. But a lot of people put their problems onto other people, and then that's when it feels a bit sad, really, because it's like, okay, if I always remember my mum always used to say to me, like, if you can't say something nice about someone, if you can't be kind, just don't say anything at all. And that's something I
Yeah.
feel like more people should practice, because actually he didn't ruin my day, but he could have. If I had been feeling a little bit emotional that day, for example, and he was like effing and blinding at me through the window, I would have been feeling a bit crap. And then you've like rubbed off your bad mood onto me when actually you could have done nothing and it would have been okay. But yeah, I think if you're not doing something nice or something kind for somebody, just don't do it. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't serve anybody. It doesn't serve you. You're not going to feel good about yourself later on down the line, and the person you're doing it to isn't going to feel very good about themselves either. And like, I think, like you say, two of the psychological benefits of being kind are increased resilience and boosted self-esteem. And I think, like you just mentioned, like, we're not necessarily being kind to for ourselves, we're being kind for the purpose of somebody else feeling good about it. But ultimately there is always going to be a reward for us. Like, it's a bit like a karma cycle. If you believe in karma, it's like good things come back to you. If you're going to put out something and say, give you a compliment, open the door for somebody, say something nice about someone to cheer them up, that is going to come back around. Either you'll get an immediate feeling of like, oh, that was a nice thing for me to do, or eventually they will, when they're out of their situation, let's say someone's struggling, you're going to go and try something to cheer them up, they're going to remember that, and they probably will eventually come back and give you something, like, just to say thank you, like you did with your coach. Was it a coach or a career counselor, something like that?
School
School
psychologist.
counselor. That's it, school psychologist. So they came back around, like, you went back to her, and then she probably had a really nice day that day when she got your email and was like, oh my god, great, like, what the work that I
Yeah.
did, she never intended for that to happen, but it does come back around. It comes back in cycles. So just remember, the energy that you put out to the world is what you're going to receive back. So if you're putting out negativity and non-kind actions, that is the energy that you can expect back. If you're putting out kindness, you're always going to receive that back in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And I agree with you 100%. And I want to just add this caveat, guys. It doesn't mean you need to like cover up your bad days, your bad emotions, you're having a hard time. This is not saying like be kind against like your own needs and your own kind of crap feelings that you're having. If you are struggling, I mean, you can always talk to people about it and people will be kind and respond. They'll want to help and support you. But if you're not at a place to like talk about it and you're just having a bad day, then all you have to do is say, I'm just having a bad day and I'm not wanting to engage today. Or I'm having a bad day and I'm not going to go out of my way to just, be rude or mean to other people because I'm having a bad day, or, my depression is super intense or my anxiety is super high. Now I get it. Sometimes I'm one of these people. I have pretty bad anxiety on a daily basis, and sometimes I react out of my anxiety. I say things that in a tone that I don't mean to say it. It just slips out of me because I'm in my own messed up feelings, and I'll catch it and I'll immediately, well, sometimes it takes me a moment, but I'll come back around sometime within the next 5 to 20 minutes to whoever I had that engagement with and be like, hey, I'm really sorry. Like that was not you. I am just feeling a little bit anxious right now and I'm in my feelings and I just didn't respond appropriately and that had nothing to do with you and I'm sorry. That in and of itself is a nice act of kindness because we're human beings. Like things happen and our mood can get the best of us occasionally, but that doesn't mean we can't come back around and say like, are you shaking on me? She's she's like struggling to hold herself up. She's a little cow. Okay.
She's
So,
huge.
but yeah, yeah, but she's just on top of me. But yeah, I think like I just wanted to give that caveat that it's not to negate that you're a human being having feelings, but you can always come back around and be kind after the fact. And that's where that emotional awareness and learning how to emotionally regulate is really, really important. And it'll be a positive feedback loop into your mental health and how you're taking care of yourself and learning that you can communicate, what you're feeling and feeling more confident and building that self-esteem, which all comes back to just that little act of kindness to yourself and to others. And I think this is a good segue of like, so what are ways that we can be kind to others just in the most simplistic ways?
Okay, so the World Kindness Day, there is a website called randomactsofkindness.org, and they have provided 7 ways to start making kindness the norm in your daily life. So
I love it.
let's talk through these 7 options. So the first one, send an uplifting text to a friend or a family member. So that could literally be like, hey, hope you have a nice day. Hey, good morning. Like whatever you think is going to resonate with that person, just send a nice text. And even that is like the smallest action that you could possibly do, but one that could make a massive impact on somebody's day. Let the guy merge into traffic with a wave and a smile. This goes back to mine. Wow, that guy didn't give me a smile back, but I certainly was just like, okay, off you go. Like I didn't even let it phase me when he was making those crazy moves. So yeah, let somebody out into traffic. Include intentional moments of kindness, laughter, and delight into your daily routine. Now, I will say, whenever somebody smiles at me, this is something that I've started practicing actually recently, is smiling at strangers. Now, it again, British people, we are not the most friendly with strangers. We find it uncomfortable to talk to strangers. Personally, no, not for me, because obviously I've travelled the world, I've met a lot of strangers. But generally, as a breed of human, we're not the most sociable when it comes to like talking to strangers, particularly if you live in the south of England and especially in London. It is not normal for you to smile at somebody on the tube. They will probably think you're crazy. But that is definitely something that I've tried to start incorporating. If I'm walking down the street, rather than look away or look down at your feet or look in a different direction, look at them, make eye contact with them, and just smile and like be like, morning. Like there's no harm in that. It actually makes me feel really good. Like I feel like this in sense of confidence in myself, that I'm like, oh, like that wasn't scary. Like talking to a stranger didn't need to be hard or scary. Like it actually makes me feel happy. So including like intentional moments where you're trying to engage with other people, I think that that's a really nice one to do. Go slightly outside of your comfort zone at least once a day to make someone smile. Yes, I love to go outside my comfort zone. Go on, I know you've got something to say on this one.
This is actually something that I do quite regularly. One, I'm a talker and I like to talk to people. It is a characteristic that I saw my dad do as a kid that I cringed at, that I hated, and then now I do as an adult. But I will start conversation. I compliment people all the time. I compliment girls' clothes. I Guys, I'm a little bit wary of because that sometimes is like starting a random conversation is different. But if it's like we're talking in the coffee line, oh, like your dog is really cute, or yeah, like just having a nice conversation. But I try whenever I can to go out of my way to give people compliments because I feel like people take pride in how they dress and what they do, or sharing a little bit of information about themselves, and it's nice to engage in a friendly way, and so it doesn't cost me anything, and then I get to have a conversation with a random person.
Absolutely. And this is actually point number 5, share a compliment with a co-worker or a friend. I also use compliments as a way, if I want to start a conversation with somebody, for example, let's say I have seen someone that maybe looks like interesting for me to talk to, or I'm at an event and like I'm a bit nervous to go up to somebody or whatever. But the whole point is networking. My normal entry into conversation is a compliment, and I think it definitely makes a difference on them as a person, and especially if you're doing it to strangers, I think that's even better. Get outside your comfort zone to make someone smile. Perfect.
Yeah.
But it also will make you feel comfortable in a situation because compliments can't go wrong, right? No one's going to be like, oh no, well, don't compliment me. So number 6 is reach out to a family member you haven't spoken to in a while. Now, doesn't necessarily need to be a family member. It could be a friend, it could be a colleague, whoever you feel comfortable reaching out to. They can always make you feel better about yourself, and also talking to them may get some kindness in return as well. And then treat someone to a cup of coffee, a friend, a stranger, or even yourself. So yeah, a really nice thing to do is treat people if you have the means to treat people. Obviously, don't go out of your means to do that if it doesn't feel good for you. But
Mhm.
I think that's always a really nice thing to do. I used to love it. Taking people out for lunch, for example, particularly when I had a team at work, I would always take
Yeah.
my junior members of my team out for lunch or coffee, whatever. And then that made me feel really good. And I know it would make them feel really good and comfortable as well. Is there anything else you would add to that list? This is what the Random Acts of Kindness have suggested for World Kindness Day. But if there's anything else you can think of.
If we're rather than like doing like like strangers outside of the house, I think, right, if you live with other people, I think like random acts of kindness in the house always are a world of difference, right? We're all struggling to adults, like being adults, having to cook, having to clean, having to go to work, all the things, but like, your partner doesn't regularly do this, but like leaves a dish in the sink, or they're having a rough morning, like offer to help them and say like, can I make your eggs for you? Can I don't worry, I got it. I got these extra dishes in the sink. Like, not a big deal. I know it sounds really small, and I'm sure that's touching on like a different area of like debates between partners and like cleaning the house and all of that stuff. But if you have roommates, things like that, doing something small out of your norm. And usually this is a really good indicator when you get irritated. When you're like, oh, I can't believe so and so did this, or like, oh, I'm annoyed by this person doing this thing. Usually that's a sign of something internally going on with you, but you can turn that into a moment of kindness and be like, all right, maybe this person did do their dishes because they were really rushed to go to a meeting or something that they had to do or whatever. And so I will do that for them. Now, if that becomes the norm, that's different. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about those moments of like irritation where you catch yourself. That's usually a good moment to, one, tune in with yourself, and then two, be like, what can I do outwardly to have a different perspective on the situation? I know I'm not petting you. I'm sorry. She's so needy.
Well, you're
She
being very
needs all
kind
the
to
love.
her right now by allowing her all of the attention whilst you're
You
trying
see
to
that?
work
I'm
at the
being
same time. So there we go.
very
This is a
kind.
prime
Mwah,
example
mwah,
of
very
how to
kind.
offer kindness to somebody in your household.
Yes, I'm being very kind to you. Normally, she's just sitting off camera and she's staring and going, and like wanting my attention. So this is much better.
um, no, they're good points. And I think the other thing to remember, just to kind of close, is kindness doesn't always need to be to other people either. Like,
Yeah.
you can actually practice kindness with yourself. I think actually it's almost more important, or just as important, by offering kindness to other people. And how you can do this for yourself is offer yourself some self-love, some self-care, treat yourself if you are feeling like you can, take yourself out for lunch, take yourself out for a coffee, even buy yourself the pair of shoes that you've been eyeing up for ages. Like, treat yourself to something. Change the narrative, the way you speak to yourself, to be more positive rather than negative. So rather than saying, I can't do this, and be like, well, I could do this if I can get XYZ, like, change the narrative slightly. Treat yourself to a better routine, like change your habits and behaviors. Talk about
Yeah.
affirmations with yourself. Help yourself before you help others. Set boundaries with yourself and other people, and make sure that your environment is a nice place to be. Like, all of these things are you doing something to look after yourself, which in itself is an act of kindness for yourself. And ultimately, that's why TINAH exists, is to be able to give you all of the resources to be able to actually do all of these things, particularly when it comes to like self-care, boundary setting, and improving your routines. These are all things that you can do quite easily without needing to invest in a lot of resource, to change the way that you think about yourself, to change the way that you behave, to emotionally regulate, which is something that we've been speaking about a lot in this episode. All of the things that we're doing at TINAH are essentially to help you do that. So that's our bit of kindness to you, is to give you all of these free resources. Your kindness then to yourself is to actually use them and put them into practice. And if you want to be kind to us, please feel free to subscribe to our podcast, like us on socials, because that would mean the world to us. But yeah, I think that kind of summarizes like what we wanted to say about being kind and practicing kindness for yourself and for other people. Was there anything else you'd add, Kelsey, at all?
No, I think it's just important to remember like how you treat a friend, you need to make sure you treat yourself the same way. You are the start you are the starting place for where kindness comes from. So giving kindness to yourself, then giving kindness outward. And like I said, I imagine if we all did this, if we all treated ourselves a little bit nicer, and then we were just a little bit kinder to people outside of our world, the world would be a much better place. And so I love the concept of World Kindness Day. I'm glad that, the theme this year is trying to make it the norm. And I really challenge you guys today, go out, give someone a compliment, give yourself a compliment. What can you do? One thing that's kind for yourself and one thing that's for other people.
Love that. Great way to end. So let's all make kindness the norm, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the TINAH Talks podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe. And if you love what we're talking about and are ready to start changing your life through your own healing journey, follow us on our socials at Time Is Not a Healer.
The TINAH Mental Wellbeing Marketplace is now live and ready to help you take control of your mental health. Head over to timeisnothealer.com, where we'll provide you with the best toolkit for your self-healing journey.
All of the details can be found in the episode description below. Remember, you hold the power to heal. Until next time, you've got this.